Offseason changes for the Cardinals are inevitable, but once again, the rumor of moving Nolan Arenado to the Dodgers is being talked about. I'll give you the latest on this idea and whether it would be a good or a bad idea to do something this drastic on today's episode of Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm a national radio sports anchor, born and raised in the Lou, and a lifetime Cardinals fan. And I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can follow me on Twitter X at JD Sports Radio and the podcast at LO_Cardinals. I want to thank those of you who make Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day, free and available wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us on YouTube if you like Halloween decorations. I got a few of those up here in the office right now. You can see those if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment so you can interact with us. Hit the notification button so you know when new episodes are posted. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode is being brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. You can visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. Around the trade deadline this past year, we heard all sorts of wild trade rumors that involved the Cardinals. I myself brought up some scenarios where it might be in the best interest of the club to trade away two of their big pillars, both Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado. Now, I'll be honest. At the time when I was talking about those things, I didn't really think the Cardinals were doing it. I just was trying to come up with different ideas of ways to turn the club around. Besides the obvious trade pieces where, Jack Flaherty, Jordan Montgomery, people like that. What are some other things that they could do? Get a little creative. And as preposterous as trading Goldie and Arenado was, you could make a case as to why moving on from one or both of them was something that in the long run would be beneficial for the Cardinals. Now, again, did we think the Cardinals would actually do something like that? Not really. The Cardinals they're not looking to rebuild. They don't think they're in such a place where that's what they need to do, where they just need to tear everything apart and start all over. They don't feel that way. And for good reason. Because there is talent on this roster. It just didn't show up last year. Coming into this season, many people thought that despite the pitching issues, which everybody pointed at, that they would still compete for a playoff spot, many believing they would still win the division despite those pitching issues. So if your team is considered that good less than a year ago, a rebuild seems a bit drastic to call it that, more of a retooling is what we're looking at. That's what the Cardinals are choosing to do this year. They're going to retool some things. They're going to retool what the roster looks like. Obviously, they're going to tinker around with the pitching staff because they have to. Kind of like how they did at catcher this past year. They had to go get a catcher. They didn't have another one. Now they got to go find some pitching. They're also going to be retooling what their philosophy is as a team moving forward. Going into this past season, it was we've got starters. They're pitch to contact guys for the most part. We're going to play good defense behind them, and we're going to hit a lot of home runs. That was the plan. Unfortunately, for everyone involved, that plan just blew up right in their face. It was bad. They certainly pitched to contact, gave up a lot of hits. The problem was that contact was finding holes, and like I said, they became base hits instead of just like ground outs or pop outs or line outs, whatever. When they went into play, they found holes more times than not. And then when these guys got on base, there just wasn't enough strikeout stuff from your pitching staff overall to get them out of trouble. And then this carousel of runners going around the bases, it just kept going and it would spiral out of control and they would lose. Next issue was the defense was not nearly as good as they thought it was going to be. Not nearly as good as you thought it was going to be. The Cardinals, for years, have prided themselves on great defense, at least they used to, And this year, I will make an excuse that injuries were a part of this, especially in the outfield when you're starting three to, on opening day. The O'Neill, Newbar, Carlson, those guys, that wasn't together very often this year. So you had to break in Jordan Walker a little bit quicker. He was a mess out there. He got better as the season went on, but he struggled. You had a decline in the defense by Nolan Arenado at third base. A Platinum Glove winner was not that guy. The defense just sagged this year. According to FieldingBible.com, the Cardinals as a team finished -6 in defensive runs saved in 2023. That's 20th in Major League Baseball. That's not what it's supposed to be for the Cardinals. Not normally. The home runs, they did work, okay? They had plenty of those, but with the other two parts failing, the team was out of it by June, hence the idea that maybe trading somebody like Goldie or Arenado, whose stock likely won't get any higher than where it was a good idea because it will likely continue to dip year after year as they get older. Goldie coming off the MVP season. Would somebody have given up a king's ransom to get him or Arenado at the trade deadline? Possibly. We know the Dodgers liked Arenado, California guy. So we heard at the deadline that LA was certainly interested in making a deal to get him from the Cardinals. And at first we thought that was a silly notion, right? We were all like, oh, stop it. We're not trading you, Arenado. But then as the days passed, we wondered, okay, maybe they're actually thinking about this. The longer Mozeliak stayed silent, the more you thought maybe there are some real discussions going on here. Now, Mozeliak will tell you, I don't answer to the media or to the fans about talking about trades. Like, he feels like it's a waste of his time, that every time a rumor comes up that somebody's getting dealt, that he has to speak up about it. That's just the way he is. He finally came out and squashed the rumors, but it took a few days, and Nolan stayed. And now we are at the end of October, and everyone except the Diamondbacks and the Rangers, they're all trying to figure out what went wrong this year with their models and why they aren't in the World Series. Naturally, you're going to start hearing some rumors or suggestions about what teams may or may not do to get to the big dance next year. And that's where we get to this Arenado to the Dodgers talk again. ESPN's Alden Gonzalez recently wrote an article talking about the Dodgers' moves this offseason after their disappointing showing in the postseason. And here's what he had to say. The Dodgers will pull off a major trade by parting with some of their more promising prospects. It's their preferred route rather than overspending in free agency. They held off on it this last offseason, but capitalizing on some of their prospect capital makes a lot of sense right now. The Dodgers have what feels close to a surplus of young starters ready to break into the big leagues at the moment and could use some of that for either a more established starting pitcher or some help on offense or both. They also have two premier catching prospects in Diego Cartaya and Dalton Rushing, both of whom are blocked by Will Smith. Vargas and Michael Busch, without set positions on a major league infield, would also intrigue some other teams. Perhaps they rekindle trade talks with the St. Louis Cardinals for Nolan Arenado. Now, again, he puts that at the very end. He just throws it out there. He's just saying, maybe that's an idea. Do we think this is going to happen? No, I don't. Let me be very clear about that. I do not believe the Cardinals are looking to trade Nolan Arenado or Paul Goldschmidt. I don't think that's what they're looking at all. But it doesn't mean we can't have a conversation about it today. See, even my dog's excited about it. So next on Locked on Cardinals, that's what we're going to do. We're going to make a little list here. Pros and cons of a deal sending Nolan Arenado to the Los Angeles Dodgers and what it might look like. That's next on Locked on Cardinals. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Just goes right to your account. Now, if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. We're wrapping up, what is this, week 7 of the NFL season? Are we week 7 or week 8? One of the two. Anyway, the app is really easy to use. It's a lot of fun to be on. There's a wide range of betting options. You can get lost on the app just looking at different ways to try and make money. You've got the spreads, you've got the player props, over-unders, and a whole lot more. I made a bet on FanDuel on Sunday, and very stressful. but fun at the same time because I had the Baltimore Ravens who got 9.5 points against the Arizona Cardinals. This is crazy, by the way. Things were going very, very well. The Ravens were up well over 9.5 at one point until late in the game. And then the defense all of a sudden just decides, you know what? We're not going to really try to stop the Cardinals. 2 straight drives. They did this. First one, Arizona scores, but the Ravens stop them on the 2-point conversion. So Ravens are up by 10. So I'm still looking good. They're getting the ball back. Everything's great. And I think tragedy is avoided. But no, the Cardinals do an onside kick. And Nelson Aguilar screws up. And instead of charging the onside kick, he tries to take it on the short hop. Bad idea. Ball gets off of him. Cardinals recover. They march down. And even though they need 10 points to tie, they go ahead and kick a field goal because they know they got to get 10 points. Whether they get it now or they get it later, they got to do it. So they kick a field goal. And I lose the bet. It's unreal. Unreal. But it made that game a hell of a more interesting for me because I could care less what happens to the Ravens and the Arizona Cardinals, but it made it a lot more fun to watch. So that can happen to you too. Hopefully you win. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Kick off the NFL season with FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. You can leave comments on YouTube as well as on Twitter anytime you want. Your feedback, always welcome and encouraged, whether it's good or bad. You've got things you want to gripe about, you can do that. You want to praise something that's going on, you can do that too. Quite all right. Now, once again, let's reiterate that I do not think the St. Louis Cardinals are trading Nolan Arenado. All right, let me put it out there, plain and simple, okay? Because I know we're going to get people in the comments that are like, this guy is an idiot. He wants to trade Nolan Arenado. No, that's not what I want to do. But we're going to have a discussion about it just because it's some news that's going on, and there's just not a lot going on in the offseason at the moment. So let's just say that the Cardinals have changed their mind on making him available. They're like, you know what? Maybe this whole signing a Japanese pitcher or getting one of these free agents going to be a little more difficult than we thought, which is still a possibility. They may not get any of them. So they have to call an audible, if you will, to steal the football term. And they decide, you know what? Maybe we can flip Arenado and get a whole lot in return and turn this thing around. So what are the pros and cons of making such a move like this, which would be a monster move if they decided to pull it off? So the first con for trading him is that Nolan Arenado is a superstar, right? He is the Cardinals superstar. Paul Goldschmidt is very, very good. Just won the MVP in 2022. You can make an argument, though, that Nolan Arenado was the MVP of the team that season. And as far as who the face of the franchise is, if you had to put Goldschmidt or Arenado up there, I would tend to think most people would say Arenado. Goldschmidt is just so vanilla, you know? He's not expressive. It's not like he gets overly excited or he doesn't. At least Arenado shows some passion and stuff. Goldie's just not that guy. He's excellent. He just is not the guy that does that. In 2023, we saw Nolan get off to a good start. I know most people remember the bad, but he actually got off to a good start. Those first 14 games of the season, Arenado was hitting .357, 2 home runs, 13 ribbies. He had an on-base percentage of .413, OPS at .913. The team wasn't winning yet. I think they were 6-8 after the first 14 games. And then it all went south. Something went haywire with his swing. And he went south, like deep south. Little Nicky style, deep south. Like his next 22 games, he hits .156. 1 home run, 6 RBIs. OBP plummets to 200. The OPS off a cliff, .413. Goes ice cold. And we all remember that. Because I remember people in the comment section going, he's toast, get rid of him, he's not good, oh no. People are freaking out. Some people just don't have patience for baseball. But then he turns back into Nolan again, all right? From that point on, so May 12th is when it kind of started to come back up. From May 12th until the trade deadline on August the 1st, Nolan Arenado hit .307 with 19 home runs, 58 RBIs, his OBP at .353, the OPS 962 over 68 games. Best in baseball, man. If not, I didn't look at everybody else's numbers, but that has to be elite top 5 at least. Best stretches in baseball for third baseman, right? He was the team's lone all-star. And now with Adam Wainwright gone, Arenado, he should be the face of this franchise. With Goldie as the close second. It should be, if there's a Batman and Robin on this team, Arenado should be Batman. Goldie would be your Robin, minus the real small, tight shorts. On the season, Arenado finishes, which is certainly a down year for him, but 266, 26 home runs, 93 RBIs, OBP 315. That's low. OPS 774. That's low. But he's still ranked among third basemen in Major League Baseball. 7th in average, 8th in home runs, 6th in RBIs. The defense, which we know wasn't great early on, and we learned that he was dealing with some dead arm issues, which was part of that. But he ended up turning it around and looked much better the rest of the year. We can all agree on that. Still one of the elite third basemen in the league, for sure. In that same sense, a pro for trading him now is that we did see a massive decline in production after the trade deadline. Yes, we knew the Cardinals had already punted on the season. They traded away a bunch of people. They weren't going to win much anymore. So team morale couldn't have been all that high in the clubhouse. And I know they get paid. Win or lose, they have to go out there and do their best every day. But when the clubhouse is just, we are so bad right now, and you got a bunch of young kids in there that are just getting their first taste of the major leagues, and you're like, this all-stars, like, dude, what happened to us this year? I can understand why your numbers might go down a little bit. He goes North Pole frigid over the final 42 games of the year. 235, 4 home runs, 16 RBIs. OBP at 285, OPS down to 628. And perhaps it was the back issues. They apparently were plaguing him most of the season. You would hear about him. Back tightened up. That's why he had to leave a game here and there. But ended up going on the injured list at the end of the year because of these back issues. So perhaps they were a bigger piece of the spiral at the end of the season for Arenado as far as his numbers went. But he also had a similar fall in production in 2022, hitting 221 over the final 27 games of the season. So maybe that's something you're like, okay, that's got me thinking. Maybe we should trade him. Back to a con for trading him. A reason I wouldn't. Loyalty. Nolan opted in to stay with the Cardinals after the MVP caliber season in 2022, where he could have opted out, gotten paid even more, and gone someplace else if he wanted. But he didn't. He decided not to. He stayed loyal to the Cardinals and to the city of St. Louis, talked glowingly about wanting to win in St. Louis during the All-Star break when things were not very good in St. Louis. He's the only All-Star there. Not a lot's going right. The trade deadline's coming up. People are all over him about getting moved. And all he talked about was, no, I chose to stay in St. Louis because I want to win in St. Louis. This is where I want to be. It's what I want to do. Normally, these are the types of guys that you want to keep around, not ship them off. If they're going to be loyal to you when things are as bad as they get, you want to keep that kind of person around you to help build when you're trying to win again. Now, another pro for trading him would be Nolan Arenado is still a big name. He is 32, though. And if these back issues persist, are we looking at the beginning of his fall in production in defense and on offense? They won't allow him to be the MVP type of player that he's been for the first 10 years of his career. I mean, it's something to think about. I'm not saying that's what's happening. I'm just saying it's something you got to consider. 32 years old has 10 years in the league. The wear and tear, has it been too much on him? Do you move him now? Wow, people still are after him before his decline gets worse and worse. And then you can also shed a little bit of payroll. You know, you rid yourself of a contract that is going to pay him $35 million this year. 24 of that, the Cardinals are going to be paying. Next year, it's $21 million. The following, it's $16 and then $15. That's the number the Cardinals have to pay. Flip that again, though. That's another con to moving him, is because of that very salary. You are paying a premier player in this league just $24 million next year, an everyday player. His overall salary is 35, like I said, but because of that deal you made with Colorado, you're only paying 24. That's not bad. You know who else is making $24 million this year at third base? Yoan Moncada for the White Sox. Yeah, 24 mil this year. Chris Bryant is making more than what you're paying Nolan Arenado in Colorado. Anthony Rendon, when I saw this, couldn't believe it. Highest paid third baseman in the league this year, $38 million the Angels are on the hook for. That's nuts. That is nuts, dude. So having a stud like Arenado at those rates, that's an extremely, extremely great value. And if this year is just one of those, hey, it's one bad year. It's just an ugly season. And you believe he will bounce back even better next year, then trading that bargain away, kind of silly, right? Doesn't make a lot of sense. And finally, a mixture of kind of a pro and con for this last point here, but what exactly are you getting in return for Nolan Arenado? What are the Dodgers willing to give up? As a Cardinal fan, I'm asking for the moon, obviously, right? I want everybody. I want all your top guys. My discussions would begin with Walker Buehler, which they will likely say no to, even though he didn't even pitch this year, coming off an injury. But that's how much I feel that Arenado is worth to the Cardinal franchise. I'm like, all right, let's start with Walker Buehler and work our way back. This isn't some average dude. This is premier third baseman, arguably the greatest defensive third baseman we've seen since Brooks Robinson. You could throw Mike Schmidt in there too. But this is a guy that the Dodgers covet, that they're chasing. They want him so bad. What are you willing to give up? So why not start at Walker Buehler? But the odds are they're not going to go for that. Walker Buehler is, I think, a huge part of their post-Clayton Kershaw life, which I don't know, Kershaw will be back with them this year. But if you go to baseballtradevalues.com, and again, not an exact science over there, but it's a fun tool to play with. Nolan Arenado worth 11.5 on there. Buehler only 8.6. Throwing a couple of prospects, boom, got a deal, right? Now, if they say no to Buehler, which, again, almost certainly they will, the Dodgers have a bunch of pitchers that the Cardinals would love to get their hands on. What about Bobby Miller? Bobby Miller. Looks like he's got ace kind of stuff. Could be one of the top young pitchers in the game. They've got Emmett Sheehan. You got Gavin Stone, Michael Grove. They're just a couple of the guys that the Cardinals could be like, well, how about two of them and an outfielder? So, you know what I mean? I mean, you just piece something together. Now, Miller, like I said, likely would be a no. I don't think they're going to go for that. But a combo of these other guys, that'd be nice to have. And the Cardinals, if they decided to swing a deal, it's not like they've just got some massive hole at third base and they don't have any other people they could play, right? Donovan, Gorman, Jordan Walker played third base coming up in the system. They've all spent time there. You could have an infield of Gorman, Wynn, Donovan and Edman at second base, and then Goldie. Is it that bad? I don't know how great Gorman would be over at third base. I mean, that's where he came up. I don't know what that would look like if you had to move him. Moving Walker back to third base, I don't know. If you did that, though, you would open up the outfield some with Newton right, Carlson Edman in center, O'Neill in left. You got a Palacios. You got Victor Scott coming up. You could find an outfielder in free agency if you want to. An idea that we brought up just a few episodes ago, and still trade from your outfield depth to get more starting pitching. You still could do that if you wanted to. There are ways to maneuver things and make this move beneficial. But like I said, I don't see the Cardinals making a drastic move like this, nor do I recommend making a move like this. I don't want to see Nolan Arenado in a different uniform. I don't want him to go anywhere. Selfishly, I like the guy. I like his attitude. I like his loyalty. I like his game. I believe he's a special talent still who had a rough season this year, like almost every St. Louis Cardinal did. And I think everybody got sucked down into this pit. And everybody's numbers were down because of it. And I think there's just other ways to improve this team for next year to get them back into contention for a playoff spot that doesn't include trading, in my opinion, the face of the franchise. But what are your thoughts? What are your ideas on trading away Arenado? Again, even if you think it's foolish and inconceivable, humor me. Tell me what package from the Dodgers, what would they have to offer you for you to make the move and trade Nolan Arenado to them? Just for fun, okay? Doesn't have to be serious all the time. We don't have to get in an argument in the comment section. It's okay. Just do it for fun. What do you think it would take? Well, what would it take? You're John Mozeliak. Phone rings. Dodgers on the line. We'd like Nolan Arenado. What's it going to take? What's your package? What are you asking for? That's what I want to hear from you. And then we can talk about this in another episode. Up next, I want to tell you, this was good stuff. What did Adam Wainwright give as the reason for his retirement? And a little World Series chatter. We'll do that next on Locked On Cardinals. The great Adam Wainwright has officially retired, filling out his paperwork and submitting it to Major League Baseball last week. You knew it was coming. This is not a surprise by any means. And we're really happy for Adam. We think it's great that he has he's decided to move on in his life, and it's quite all right. The funny thing is, though, so we had to fill out this paperwork. Okay. And on that paperwork, he had to put a reason why he was retiring. And I'm going to put this up here on YouTube so you can actually see the sheet that he filled out. Is it going to come up? There it goes. All right. Now you can see it. For those of you listening on the podcast, his answer to the reason why he's retiring, because I got a puppy. Now, for those of you who don't know the story behind this, Adam kept telling his family that we can't get a puppy. We can't get one of those until I retire, because he knows he's going to have to be the one who takes care of it, and the kids aren't going to do the right job, and he needed to be around for something like that to happen. So no puppy until he retired. And at his retirement ceremony this year, he did receive a puppy as one of his gifts, signaling the end of his career and the beginning of life as a doggy dad. So I just thought he posted this on his Twitter account today. Great stuff from Wayno, right? That's just funny. That's funny stuff. World Series. Game 3 tonight in Arizona. Series knotted up at 1 game apiece. Those Diamondbacks, dude. Okay, so the Rangers have this dramatic comeback in the 9th inning in Game 1. Then they, from Seager's game-tying home run, and then Adolis Garcia walks it off in the 11th. Game 2, totally different story. Close game for a bit there. Diamondbacks crushed the Rangers in the end, 9-1. Former Cardinal Jordan Montgomery doesn't pitch bad. Got the start, didn't pitch bad. It was a 2-1 ball game through 6 innings, but the D-backs blow it open. They get 2 in the 7th, 3 in the 8th, 2 more in the 9th. One of the storylines in this game was that another former Cardinal, Tommy Pham, was 4 for 4 in this game, tying a World Series record. And then he did one of the most teammate-oriented things I have ever heard. Okay? He decides, I don't want to take my last at bat in the World Series. They're up 9-1. Doesn't want to do it. Had a chance to be the first 5 for 5 game in World Series history. Instead, he says, no. I want my teammate Jace Peterson to get the at-bat so his name can go in a World Series box score. How about that? Now, his manager, Torey Lovello, said after the game that was a true team moment. I am guaranteeing you, he was aware that he had a chance to get 5 hits. He came to me and he said, I need you to get my boy an at-bat. This was a moment where it was a teammate loving a teammate to give him an opportunity. He took what mattered most to him personally and said, it's more about the team and my teammate. Like, this isn't like an all-star game or something that he just, you go ahead. No big deal. This is the World Series. This is for the trophy. This is for all the marbles. And Tommy Pham said, get my boy Jason the game. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, right? Now, including this 4 for 4 against the Cardinals back in 2020's tournament and a 4 for 4 earlier this month, Pham's third 4 for 4 ties the playoff record set by Albert Pujols. Albert Pujols. Derek Gould did a piece on this today about all the trades that Pham has been a part of. Like, he's been on so many teams over the last few years since getting traded away from the Cardinals to the Rays. The drama that has surrounded him, including the slapping of Jock Peterson over fantasy football. The dude got stabbed outside of San Diego strip club. But the guy brings an attitude to his game and to the clubhouse that I think is sorely missing in today's game. Like, there's just not a lot of attitude going on out there. You see a few guys here and there, like Max Scherzer, one of those guys that brings an attitude. Like, he doesn't look like he's out there playing a game. He's out there to destroy you. It's what Tommy Pham kind of brings out there. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the season. No, I do not think the Cardinals are going to go after Tommy Pham. I don't think they'll pursue him. Got enough outfielders as it is, and I think if they are going to sign an outfielder, they're going to do somebody that plays center field or is more productive offensively than Tommy Pham is at this point in his career. But man, is that a guy I'd like on my side if I had the chance. You know, he's proving his worth in this postseason. He's been very instrumental in the Diamondbacks being where they are. Game 3 tonight. Grizzlies veteran Max Scherzer, who I was just talking about, he's on the hill for the Rangers against rookie Brandon Pfaadt, who's, let's be honest, he's been throwing like an ace here in the postseason so far. So Max Scherzer in Arizona again. Remember, he was there for quite some time. By the way, Max Scherzer in 12 career starts versus Arizona, 9-0, 2.65 ERA. I put my money on Max tonight, but gosh, it's hard to bet against the Diamondbacks at this point, isn't it? Should be fun to watch. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you help our channel and love for the Cardinals grow. You are the best fans in baseball for a reason, and I will see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.